We're taking a live look over a beautiful downtown Dublin. Look at that one car on the road right there. The time is now 6:30 a.m. here on this September the 23rd. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Wanye Reese.
And I'm Caitlin Heck. Let's head on over to Alex. He has a look at our weekend forecast and finally a fall looking forecast.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's going to be much different today than it was yesterday. And as we look live over Dublin, you can see the sun beginning to come up over the horizon. Actually, it depends what screen you look at. I can see it on that screen there. I can't see it on this screen here, so maybe you're able to see it at home. 65 is the current number here in Macon, 63 in Dublin, 63 in Gray, 61 in Forsyth, and 68 there in Unadilla. It's a cool morning across the area as a cold front slid through during the overnight hours, and it's cooling all of us off. It's 60 up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. All of this cooler air continuing to slide down towards the south, making for a much nicer day here in central Georgia. But Tropical Depression 9 did form just over an hour ago. 5 a.m. was the first advisory on it. It's continuing to move towards the west-northwest there at 13 miles an hour. I'll have much more on that coming up. But first today, expect a majority of the day with temperatures in the 70s, plenty of sunshine, dry air, well below the average high of 86. It's going to be a fantastic day. Super Saturday as well. We will be warmer with a slight chance of rain on Sunday. We've got the 7-day here in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Alex. A memorial for a student who died in a wreck this week.
2 Bibb County deputies now on administrative leave.
And a New York company bringing more than 300 jobs to South Bibb. Let's look at your top headlines starting in East Lawrence. Today, family and friends and classmates will hold a memorial for Carlos Graves. The East Lawrence High School student died in a wreck Tuesday night. He was 17 years old. It starts at 2 o'clock at the Memorial Chapel at Stanley Funeral Home. Yesterday, people at the school described Graves as a popular senior.
He participated in many activities and was president of the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. Angela Brownsville, the FCCLA advisor, knew Graves since he was a freshman. She says he showed what it meant to be a leader.
Carlos was the epitome of all of those letters. He loved family. He focused on career. He gave back to his community.
Thinking about all of his classmates and family. This morning, 2 Bibb County deputies are on administrative leave after a shootout during a traffic stop. Now, this is standard procedure in a case like this. It all happened around 5 Wednesday afternoon on Coliseum Drive and Emory Highway in East Macon. The GBI says the Bibb Sheriff's Office attempted to stop 31-year-old Dale Watson.
Instead, they say Watson sped away, crashed his car, and then got out and shot at deputies. The officers returned fire before arresting Watson. Now, no one got hurt, although Watson did go to the hospital to get checked out. Right now, he's in the Bibb County Jail. State records show that he was just released from prison last month on an aggravated assault conviction in Bibb County. As for the case, the GBI is still investigating.
And a New York company wants to grow salad greens and more than 300 jobs in South Bibb. Macon Bibb's Planning and Zoning Commission will talk about the plan by Bright Farms LLC Monday. The company wants to set up shop on a 200-acre site at Hawkinsville and Fagan Roads, not Fagan Mill as we said earlier, it's Fagan Road. They plan to build 4 large hydroponic greenhouses and 2 smaller buildings.
They total more than 1.5 million square feet rather. Bright Farms hopes to get started in 2024 and be fully built by 5 years later. They need approval from the Zoning Board, the Macon Water Authority, and other agencies. Also on the board's agenda, an exterior facelift for Macon's historic Grants Lounge on Poplar Street and a proposed IHOP at Mercer University Drive at I-475. That meeting is going to be happening next Monday at 1:30 at the terminal station here in Macon.
Well, as the November election gets closer, Democratic candidate for Governor Stacey Abrams made a push for expanding Medicaid. Abrams says November 1st, Atlanta Medical Center will close, sending its patients to other hospitals. That will leave Grady Hospital as the only level 1 trauma center in the capital city. If they're full, anyone needing trauma services like a gunshot or stroke victim would have to make the trip down I-75 to Atrium Health Navison in Macon. Abrams says that puts a lot of pressure on central Georgia.
This could be an hour and a half to a 3-hour drive when often minutes determine life or death. The closure of the Atlanta Medical Center is not simply an Atlanta issue. This is a Macon issue. This is a middle Georgia issue. This is a Georgia crisis.
Abrams says her stance on expanding Medicaid alone would not have prevented Atlanta Medical Center from closing, but it could have helped. She blames her opponent, Governor Brian Kemp's healthcare policies for hurting hospitals. Meanwhile, Kemp's campaign sent us a statement that reads in part, quote, Wellstar has been abundantly clear that Medicaid expansion would not have prevented the AMC closure, but that doesn't fit Stacey Abrams' political narrative, end quote. They went on to say that the governor will continue to fight for more access to affordable health care.
Right now, the Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says you can check out the current sample ballots online. Voters in all of Georgia's county can find the sample ballots on the My Voter page of the Secretary of State's website. The ballot is designed to replicate the ballot that you're going to see while you're voting in person. So just go to mvp.sos.ga.gov and log into the MVP portal. When you find the sample ballot, you can fill it out and even print it out to take with you once you get to the polls. Well, some Georgians say spending their $350 cash assistance payments from the state is challenging. Payment rollout started this week with more than 3 million people enrolled in statewide benefit programs like SNAP, Medicaid, and Peach Care for Kids. Despite complaints from some people, the state says more than 270,000 people have already claimed $95.5 million within the first 3 days of the program, and about $30 million has already been spent across 580,000 transactions. The state started sending the money electronically Tuesday, and the rest will be sent out next week.
Well, Fort Valley State University says the school has a $147 million impact here in Central Georgia.
President Dr. Paul Jones is this week's guest on Central Georgia Focus. President Jones says as the campus prepares to welcome thousands for homecoming celebrations, they also celebrate community connections. He says by growing connections with nearby organizations, they can graduate more students in fields where they are needed.
We have a tremendous partnership, for example, with the Air Force Base, which is obviously an important engine.
Yes.
But we're also connecting with other industries in the region to make sure that we're meeting those workforce demands, that we are bringing on the kinds of technology and the kinds of support that are needed.
You can hear more from Jones about Fort Valley State University's community impact in next week's homecoming celebration on Central Georgia Focus. You can join us for that segment tomorrow at noon right here on 13 WMAZ.
And for information about the homecoming parade, the football game, and all the activities that go along with it, just head to the FVSU webpage.
6:37, check this out with me, family. It's tailgating season, but today Vineville Academy of the Arts is tailgating with a twist. They are having a positive behavioral interventions and supports, or PBIS, tailgate party. It starts at 1 p.m. and they say the Mercer University band and mascot Toby the Bear will be there to fire students up about putting forth their best behavior and attitude at school.
Well, speaking of tailgates, it's almost time for football Friday night with teams getting ready to hit the field for another week of gridiron greatness here in Central Georgia. So make sure you join us for Tailgate 13 starting at 5 o'clock. Our crew is live from Mary Persons in Monroe County as the Bulldogs take on the Columbus Blue Devils tonight. Then at 11:35, of course, make sure you join Frank, Marv, Connor, Ben, and our crew for Football Friday night as they bring you all the highlights from across Central Georgia. And whether you're on the field, the sidelines, or you're up in the stands cheering on your Central Georgia team this fall, we want to see you. Send your Football Friday night photos to us so we can show them off each and every week. Text those photos to the number right there on your screen. It's 478-752-1309. Time is 6:38 and a good fall-like forecast for Football Friday night. Finally.
I know folks are going to be out there having a good time. They might have their blankets. You know, that's the Football Friday night that I'm used to.
Yes, we got a little crispness in the air.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be quite that cool. But it's going to be
dreaming.
cooler.
We're dreaming over here, okay?
We are dreaming of a white Christmas.
Oh, I'm not dreaming about that. No, siree.
I'm dreaming of it.
You can
We want snow again.
You can put those dreams to rest.
I want
sir.
January 2018 again in Central Georgia.
Sir, you hush your mouth over there.
See, we can save that for January of 2023 when Caitlin's with her twins.
That's true, and I'm inside.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Hey, we were far from that yesterday. Check this out. 98 was the high temperature. It was a hot day yesterday, well above the average of 86, 12 degrees above that, 2 degrees shy of the record, which was set back in 1925. Far from it today. You can see the sun coming up on the horizon there in Dublin, 65 in Macon, 62 in Warner Robins, 63 in Dublin, and 64 in Perry this morning. We've got 62 in Milledgeville, cooler stuff up in Monticello, 55 the number there, 61 in Upson County, 62 in Monroe County, and 69 down in Rochelle this morning. The humidity also much lower than it was yesterday morning. Take a look across the southeast. There is a front draped just down towards our south. That's what slid through during the overnight hours, making for a quiet morning. Now, as we head through the day today, look for temperatures to warm up into the 70s, and that's going to be about it. 70s, low 80s. Yeah, we're not talking about the 90s like we had been in the past few days. I'm going with a high temperature of 80 here in Macon. And then for tomorrow morning, very cool here in central Georgia. It's probably some of the coolest air we've seen this season so far. It wouldn't surprise me to see a few 40s sprinkled in on this map as well. Previous runs of this model showed a few 40s on that map, and then back into the 80s for Saturday afternoon. Sunday, things begin to change just a little bit as another front works its way in here. So we'll get warm out ahead of the front with a few showers and then cool down once again. Now, Tropical Depression 9 did form earlier this morning. Winds of 35 miles an hour. It's moving towards the west-northwest at 13. And the track that I'm showing you here, we have a high amount of confidence in this track. Where we lose our confidence is going forward there. So potentially a Category 2 hurricane somewhere right along the southwest Florida coast. This would be Wednesday morning early. But the reality is, we play some of these models forward, you'll see that there are still a fair amount of them that show it in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, potentially trying to work its way up towards the Big Bend if you're trying to bend that way, if you're trying to bend that way. So we've got a lot of time to watch it, and we're going to be watching it closely here in central Georgia. 80 degrees is going to be the high temperature today, so 18 degrees cooler than we were yesterday, the second day of fall. Sunrise officially comes your way at 7:23 this morning. Here's your football Friday night forecast. Cooling down into the 70s. Sunsets at 7:30. It is going to be a perfect night out there on the ball fields. Take a look at the weekend forecast. 84 for Saturday, 87 for Sunday. There's that 20% chance of rain. That front comes on through. On the flip side of that front, cooler air. How about 70s for high temperatures next Wednesday and Thursday?